Hey everybody, here with a new movie called Terror Train from, let's see on my notes here, from 1980. Um, I always thought that was from 82, Terror Train. I may be wrong on that. Director Roger Stottingwood, yeah, maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's with Jamie Lee Curtis, David Copperfield, a really young David Copperfield, uh, Ben Johnson. He's an old school actor who did a lot of 40s and 50s movies. He's really known back in the day for those black and white movies. And then you have, he's a veteran, yeah. And then you have Hart Bachner. Now, who's Hart Bachner, you say? He is the guy of Die Hard who's sniffing coke all the time and who's calling Hans Gruber, Bobby, I'm your friend, Bobby. Let's make a deal. I make a deal. Let's make a deal, Bobby. Yeah, and he gets his head blown off. That's Hart Brockner. So he's played by Doc. His name is Doc. Ben Johnson's name is Karn, and Jamie Lee Curtis' name is Elaine, and David Copperfield is called Kenny, apparently. And then you have, oh yeah, then you have the boy in the beginning that they fuck up. Called, his name is Derek Madison, called Kenny Hampson. They basically pull a prank on this poor boy, and they say Elaine wants to have sex with him, and he's shy. He's in the sorority, right? And he doesn't really want to do it, but they're nudging him in the way. He's still one of the pledges, because the pledges are wearing beanies, and eventually he goes upstairs where he thinks where Elaine is. Now Elaine doesn't know what's really happening and what they're planning to do, and they think it's a harmless prank. But Kenny starts to, Elaine says, just undress. I'm already undressed. It's natural. He starts to undress himself, this, and that. He goes to the bed where he sees Elaine lying there, and he apparently it's a decaying corpse that that Doc and probably one of the other he's a med student that he took from the coroner's office, and the guy just freaks and he's starting to he's making this real weird noise. Everybody comes out and laugh. Now Elaine is like completely in shock that this was a real body, and he's tying himself in one of the hangers in the the fabric hangers in the bed, and he's I mean it's a grueling prank, yeah. So 3 years later they are graduating med school, and they do this I think it's New Year's Eve, but they're all in costumes like Halloween. That's a weird concept, right? So um, they're all in costumes, and before the train goes, there's this guy that's playing a comedian, a known comedian, in a mask, and yeah, I'm not sure who the guy in the real a known comedian who he is in reality. He's playing pranks and telling pranks, and being somebody who you'll notice. And at some point, you see David Copperfield loading in his, a young David Copperfield loading in his tools and things like that, and with his assistant. And when the train wants to leave, you see the guy, the Joker guy who's joking around. You see him with a knife through his body, and he's doing like he apparently had a real knife, a sword. It's not a knife, a sword through his body. Okay, he's pushed underneath the car, and he's basically being made hamburger meat because the train runs over him. So now the cool thing about this movie is, so the killer is lurking around on this train, and the killer is trying to kill all the people who were engaged in that prank. And he kills one, and he takes the ones who he kills his costume. So the killer has always a different costume, so you never know who he is. That's an original idea. So at some point they start to notice that there are bodies on the train, and they start to panic, and they want to leave the train, but the train is in the middle of fucking nowhere, and it's freezing like hell, snowing like hell. They can't get away because they'll die from the cold. So they have to go back on the train, pushed in one compartment, and the people, the conductors, they're trying to find him with axes. They have axes, fire axes and things like that. Because apparently the drivers are also killed off screen. They're gone, but you see a little blood on a hat, one of their hats that's still laying there. So you don't know who the killer is at that point. He can be anybody. He's dressed as one of those killers, and it's a really cool vibe. And at one point, Doc takes Elaine. He says it's everybody for himself. He goes back on the train when everybody's staying outside for a moment to do a head count. He goes to this to his private quarters, and Elaine doesn't want to because she doesn't want to leave her friends behind, and it says tough titties. I want to survive, and this and that, and eventually she, she doesn't want to. She gets outside, and then she sees somebody coming after her, and she's trying to get inside again, and Dog, being the asshole that he is, because he's the instigator of the first joke in the beginning of the movie, doesn't let her in. Now, Doc gets killed, of course, because the killer is somewhere in that bunk and hiding, and a hand takes him, like he's sitting down on the ground. A hand takes him. It has the same nail glass as his girlfriend, and he says, oh, it's all just a practical prank, a practical fucking prank. And he takes his head, and you don't see it. There's not a lot of gore. It's more aftermath, and you see, like, okay, when they get all back on the train. They go to Hart Brockner's bunk, and they find him without a head. And you see the head falling off, and then you see the head, which is a really fake head, by the way. There's one scene where the killer is having sex with one of the girls. I mean, she wants to have sex with it with the, but she doesn't know it's a killer. She thinks it's one of those guys that's in the group of his friend group, and he's a black guy, and you see a black hand coming towards her. She says, "Oh, it's so cold," and she pulls it off, and it's just a hand. So there are gory moments, and then she kills her, of course, but you don't see that. You see that he apparently slit her throat, so you don't see a lot of the kills. What this movie has is tension and atmosphere, and especially claustrophobic, eerie tension. That's what I want, in a slasher movie. You got a good slasher villain, you've got an interesting idea, you've got I mean, you got good actors, really good actors. It's fun to see David Copperfield doing his tricks. He's doing them here and there, and then on stage. It's really fun to see that. And yeah, it's an all-round great movie. It's better than Prom Night. It's better than Prom Night. Yeah, it's also with Jamie Lee Curtis. And if I am correct, it should be in the same year as Prom Night, although I think it's from '82, but I'm not sure. I may misspelled that, but if it's from the '80s, it's in the same year as Prom Night, and this one is a lot more better. It's a lot better, a lot better. The director didn't like it, but it's certainly not one of the worst slasher movies of the early '80s. It's one of the better ones, and if he hears this, he probably won't. He can't be really proud of his achievement because he did a good job. He made a tense, atmospheric, claustrophobic, eerie horror movie. Okay, the gore was minimal, but that wasn't. It's like Halloween. It wasn't necessary. This movie, it wasn't necessary. It had a practical idea with the fact that the killer always had these different costumes, and there's a really nice twist at the end that I didn't see coming. Because you as the audience probably know it's Kenny Hampson who's doing the killing, but you don't see him. But when you see him, oh my god, it's a twist, real good twist. So see this movie, thumbs up, see it. Bye bye.